What is up, guys? Winter Kills here, and as promised, I said I'd be making a combo video to follow up the most recent deck profile for Danger Orcust, or whatever you want to call them. And this is that combo video. I've got a couple combos, starting from really basic to a little bit more advanced. I'm going to try to use a bunch of different cards in here to try to showcase how they all sort of interact with each other. I'm not going to always start... at least try to start with the same cards. I'll try to pick some different cards. Like some of these combos are going to start with Scrap Recycler, and some will start with like Ibly, just to show how that interaction works, and things of that nature. You know, how to go into Savage Dragon, how to end on, you know, the classic Bomber Dragon with Longirsu, or ending on multiple links with Savage Dragon, things of that nature. Also, real quick shout out, as always, to our sponsor, Imperium Duelist, for providing some amazing sleeves, like the ones I've been using on all my videos, like these sleeves here that have these really cool effects on them, making this Borreload Savage Dragon look really nice. This beautiful playmat, tons of others on the website. Check them out in the link, or the links to them in the description, and use that discount code that's probably on the screen or something to save 10% off on all future purchases. So let's go ahead and get into the combo. Now, the first one I want to start with is basically just a literally 2-card combo that will end on a Topological Bomber Dragon and a Longirsu with our field spell. So our final board should look something like this. We have Bomber Dragon, we have Longirsu, and we're pretty much just set to make our opponent's next turn a miserable one. So let's go ahead and set up for that. So we'll start by normal summoning Scrap Recycler, and since we have an Orcust in hand, I always like to send the Orcust Brass Bombard to the grave. Well, I'll just put it over there for all intensive purposes. I know the graveyard zone's over here, but I'm a lefty, so I like having the graveyard on the left side. So I'll send Brass Bombard because we have an Orcust in hand. In this case, it happens to be Harp Horror. And then we'll summon Harp Horror via the Brass Bombard effect. And then we'll go into our first link monster, which is going to be Galatea, the Orcust Automaton. And then we'll use her effect to return this back to the deck and grab an Orcust spell or trap and set it to our field. So one thing we have to grab if we didn't already open it is our field spell, because that's what makes this turn so nice, is because we're able to have the field spell up and we're able to use all these effects during our opponent's turn. So next, we'll use the Harp Horror, and we're going to go ahead and summon the newest Orcust monster that makes this card, or makes this combo a lot easier to make, which is summoning the Orcust Nightmare. So just basically an extra piece of extension here. I'll put this over here. There's a little bit of a glare there. So we'll link these two away and go into none other than Summon Sorceress. And now we will use Orcust Nightmare to banish itself, target Summon Sorceress, and now we will send a Orcust Symbol Skeleton from deck to grave like that. And then, as you guys know, Symbol Skeleton is the one that banishes itself from grave to summon an Orcust from grave. So I'll banish that, summon this here. Now we'll use Summon Sorceress effect to target this to summon another machine from our deck. And last but not least, we are going to go and summon out the World Legacy World Wand to that other zone that Summon Sorceress is pointing to. And at this point, the combo is pretty much almost complete without having used any other cards in our hand, and also gaining, you know, a field spell in the process. We will link these two away for Longirsu, and then we will use lastly World Wand's effect to summon a banished Orcust monster. In this case, I like to go for Symbol Skeleton because that allows us to be able to bring back Galatea during their turn for the board wipe, and we also get the search an Orcust spell or trap while that is going off. So lastly, we'll link the Symbol Skeleton and the Summon Sorceress away for the Topological Bomber Dragon, or Topologic Bomber Dragon. Always say Topological. Yeah, so there we have it. We end on Bomber Dragon, Longirsu with the field spell. And the nice thing about having Longirsu here is if they try to summon to this zone, we can use his effect to return 2 of these banished Dark Machines back to our deck to send that card to the graveyard if they manage to get past the first board wipe. Which, if they do, when we do use the board wipe, we'll use Symbol Skeleton, targeting Galatea, summoning it over here, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, we'll shuffle one of these back, get a spell or trap, and then we're set for next turn. So that's the first combo, and now we'll go into the second. Alright guys, so for this next combo with these 3 cards, we should be able to end on a Summon Sorceress, or really any Link 3, but I guess it just kind of has to be Summon Sorceress, and Borreload Savage Dragon. I wanted to showcase an easy combo on how to get into Savage Dragon since he just came out, and he fits very, very well with this deck. So in order for this combo to work out, you're going to need basically like a Grepher in hand or any sort of dangers in hand to get this extra cards into the graveyard at the start of your turn. I'm just using Grepher as an example, and of course we basically play 2 Grepher since we play Reinforcement of the Army, so this can come up. And we don't even need to use his special summon effect here. We can, but we don't have to. So first things first, we're going to start by normal summoning Grepher, using his effect to discard this Orcust Nightmare, and then use its effect, other effect, to send Brass Bombard from our deck to the grave. Now from there, we're going to use Brass Bombard to summon Harp Horror, and now we're going to link into Galatea, much like most of our combos start with. Galatea effect, returning this back to the deck to change out with it with the field spell. And then from here, we'll use Harp Horror to summon out Symbol Skeleton, who is right there. And then we'll link the Symbol Skeleton and the Galatea for Summon Sorceress. And then from here, we can simply use the Symbol Skeleton to revive the Nightmare from our graveyard, and then use Summon Sorceress to target this, and summon a machine from deck to the other zone that she points to, just like that. And just like that, we now have our basic setup here with Summon Sorceress and Warlord Savage Dragon. Now, there's a couple other things we could do after this. So we could synchro these two together, go for Savage Dragon, activate his effect to grab Galatea. That's going to give us 2 negations for later on. We'll equip it to it, and now we can use Nightmare's effect here at the very end to send 1 Dark Machine to the grave. We'll send World Wand, and then from here we could lastly use the World Wand effect to summon out the Symbol Skeleton, and then this is a further extension of what the play was originally going to be, and then just use those 2 to go into Orchestrion. You could go for Bomber Dragon, but then you'll just lose your Savage Dragon, so you don't really want to do that. I think Orchestrion is much better because he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects when he's linked that way, and you have the 3 Banish Machine requirement as well, which is really, really nice. And we do have a live Symbol Skeleton engraved for our opponent's turn. So that's just a quick way to get into Savage Dragon, just using those 3 cards. Like I said, it doesn't have to be with Grepher. Primarily, you just want a way to get a card like Nightmare engraved early, without having to, foolish it with anything. It's sort of like opening it up in your starting hand, getting it to graveyard with a Grepher or a Danger Monster, and then normaling it and linking it away or what have you. Now we'll go into and do another combo, which is a little more extensive, to show you guys basically how to end on a Summon Sorceress, a Longirsu, and a Savage Dragon, taking advantage of the Mermaid play with Nightmare Ibli, a Harp Horror in hand, and any other danger, preferably Jackalope, because Jackalope is just the best one. Again, you just need that extra body. And I usually start with Harp Horror because the way I play the deck, I usually like to get my plays started with Harp Horror. I just find out that it works the best. And if you guys want to see this deck working in action, basically just hand to hand, I will be following this video up at some point with a test hand video, so you guys can see how I play out random hands instead of just drawing into a certain set of cards and seeing how they interact with each other to form certain select boards. So we'll have these 3 cards here, and before I forget, again, we'll draw two random cards. We drew Solemn Strike and Called by the Grave. So first things first, normal summoning the Ibli, linking it away, and that will go to their field because of its own effect. So we have Mermaid now, and then we'll use Nightmare Mermaid's effect here to discard the Harp Horror and to summon out the Orcust Nightmare. Yes, because you can do that now. It's pretty awesome. Pretty easy. It's just a free summon without having to use any other of our Orcust cards. Now here's where we're going to want to use our danger, so we'll activate Jackalope. We'll shuffle these 3 cards and we'll see what happens. Pick the Solemn Strike. Let's see what happens. Oh, we picked the callback. Okay, so we get to keep the Solemn Strike. That's pretty cool. So we get to summon Jackalope. We'll draw a card. We drew into World Wand. Not a problem. So now from here we will link these 2 away to go into Galatea. And then here we'll use the Harp Horror to summon out a Symbol Skeleton. Okay, so after we summon out the Symbol Skeleton with the Harp Horror, we will go ahead and use Galatea's effect to put this back into the deck to grab the field spell, just like that. Now we'll link these 2 away and go ahead and go right into Summon Sorceress, using Symbol Skeleton now to summon out the Galatea, activating Galatea's effect here to go ahead and summon the Brass Bombard. And then from this point, we are going to link these two away, the Jackalope or any other danger monster, and the Galatea for the Longirsu. Now we have this Orcust Nightmare in our graveyard, so we'll use that effect to go ahead and send the card that we have in our hand right now, which is the World Wand. But we'll go ahead and get that into our graveyard anyways. And then from here, we will go ahead and use the World Wand effect to summon out the Nightmare, and then we'll synchro these two together for a copy of Borreload Savage Dragon, and use his effect here to equip either the Mermaid if you wanted to keep the Galatea engraved, or the Galatea to get those two negations. And with this hand, we happen to have a Solemn Strike set as well with one extra card in hand. And yeah, that's a pretty solid first turn board, I would say. If they try to summon into any zone that a Link monster points to, you can return 2 Banished Machines here to send that card to the graveyard. This card can't be destroyed by card effects. You have a Savage Dragon here. You have a Summon Sorceress on field still to work with. Alright, so for this last combo, I think this is probably going to be the last combo. I think this is the 4th one. We're going to start with 4 cards. So we're going to use Ibly again with World Wand, Harp Whore, and Dark Grepher. Now, you do not need Grepher for this play. You could use any other danger as an extra extender. I like using Grepher here because it's a guaranteed discard of this level 5 or higher. You could use, per se, Grepher and maybe this and another danger and have it even be a really, really good hand on top of this. But like I said, you don't need Grepher here. Technically, you just need like Mothman or Jackalope or Dogman, just something to get this on a monster on field with, and then this engraved. So that's essentially all we're looking for here. So to start, we'll start with the Ibly play like we did the last combo, then going right into the Mermaid, giving them Ibly, just like that. Let's see if just a little more here without the total glare. Then we'll use the Mermaid here to discard Harp Horror to summon out the Orcust Nightmare. Now this combo is going to end on Borreload or Sword with a Savage Dragon. And since I'm just playing this out as going first, we'll just do Borreload since he's a little bit more defensive. So now we'll link these. Before we link these two together, we will summon Grepher here by discarding this. And again, if we had other cards in hand, we can discard again and send from our grave to the end. So like this is an example where if we had a card like Jackalope here, we could discard it to summon out Mothman, or not Mothman, summon out Dogman, and then Foolish another card. That would be like the most optimal, but I didn't want to use full 5 cards for this combo. So now we'll link these two away to go into Galatea, and now we'll use the Harp Horror to summon out Symbol Skeleton from our deck, and we are also supposed to get the field spell before we link all of these away. So if I could find the Symbol Skeleton here, now we'll use Galatea's effect to shuffle this back in and grab our field spell, because field spell is very, very important. Technically, we don't really need it here for this combo, but still really nice to have as it can generate us some advantage during our opponent's turn. Now we'll link these 3 away right into a link 4. Again, it could either be Boral Sword, or it could be Borreload Dragon, whatever you're up to, or whatever, you know, if you're going first or second. I'd probably go Borreload for first, Boral Sword for second, and then from here we will use the Orcust Nightmare to send a copy of the Brass Bombard from our deck to the grave, and now here we will use the World Wand to summon out the Nightmare, and then lastly using the Symbol Skeleton here to summon out the card we just sent, which is the Brass Bombard, synchroing these two together for a copy of Borreload Savage Dragon, using his effect here to equip him with the Galatea or the Mermaid if you want to keep the Galatea engraved. So we have the double Borreload play here, Borreload Savage Dragon and Borreload Dragon. Like I said, this could either be Sword, any link 4 of your choosing, really. You could have gone for like Trisbania instead, and not have gone for the field spell, because that way you don't have to banish it. So you could have technically gone for Trisbania here as well, just using the Galatea as a link 1, and then linking away your other cards with it to go into Trisbania, and then when this gets summoned here, This would be like, what would be Chainlink 2, Chainlink 1. I'm not entirely sure on how that interaction would work, but that's just something to think about. Like I said, mainly you're probably just going to go for Load and Savage, just like that. Field spell, optional. So if you need the draw spell to get your hand a little better for this play, you can. So yeah, that's going to be it for this combo. So like I said, I'll be following this video up at some point with some test hands like I will for other decks in the future. So keep an eye out for that. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little combo video. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section below. As always, Winner Kill signing out. We'll see you in the next one.